Good morning and welcome back to Plannercraft. I'm Natalie and today we're going to be doing a bit of a different approach to text. So if you'll bear with me one moment just while I'm getting the stream up so I can see your comments. So I won't be able to see comments on YouTube all the time, but I will try and flick backwards and forwards between Facebook and YouTube. So I just wait a few moments for everybody to find me. And hopefully you've all had a lovely weekend. Now don't be afraid to say hi, and if you have any questions at any point during this morning's class, do let me know. There's no such thing as a daft question. So hi Lorraine, hi Carol. I'm just waiting for a few of us before I get too far ahead. So one of the things you are going to want for this session to replicate your own is a saying or a poem, something like that, where you've got quite a bit of text to play with. So I'm going to be using a reading. But let's see how we go. Okay, so I'm going to assume that all is okay on YouTube and I will get stuck in. The house tutorial is not this weekend but the weekend after, so it's the 6th, 7th of November and spaces are still available. And you can book that on, let me get it right, it's definitely on Buy Me a Coffee but it should be on SumUp. So SumUp actually is better for us. And morning Tracy. So today I'm going to be starting off in Inkscape, which is unusual for me, I know. But I'm doing it because I want access to one tool and one tool only. And that is the spiral tool just here. So this is how we can create a spiral shape nice and easily. And of course Inkscape is free to download and use. Morning Joyce, morning Sue, morning Sandra. Oh, two Sues. So, with our spiral tool, we're going to draw a shape. And you're going to see that as you draw, it's going to use the last settings that you had it set to. And it's going to scale up as you draw. So rather than it changing the individual settings, it's just going to scale that original setting. Now up at the top up here you have three options. I'm going to actually kind of do this bit back to front. So I'm going to start off with the inner radius because this is a nice easy one to understand, and it's also the one that you most likely to want to set first. So your inner radius is that space in the middle, and we can actually increase that as you need to. So this might be that you want to put a design in the center. It might be that you might want to put a QR code in the center that links to a video or an audio file. It could be that you want to put a Spotify symbol in the middle and then use the Spotify link underneath. Or it could just be something as simple as a nice little photo. And morning Deb. Our next setting that we're going to go is the number of turns. Now this is going to be a bit of guesswork. Your number of turns is going to influence the space between your lines, as in if we don't do as many turns, you're going to see that it's going to kind of unwind itself. It's getting smaller and smaller, like so. So if you only have a short phrase, then you can get away with fewer turns. If you've got something that's really long, you're going to want to increase that up towards the 9 where I had it before. So I think mine is going to be around about there, but it is a guess at this stage. Now, The next one is divergence, and this is where we start to play with that shape a little. So at the moment it's set to 1, and what that means is the space between each of these lines is equal. Okay, so if you're working with just standard text and you're keeping all that text at the same size, that is probably going to be the option you are going to want to use. Now if we go less than 1 but not 0, if you go less than 1, what you're going to find, let's go for 0.5, is that your inside lines are going to be bigger than your outside lines. Now there's going to be very few occasions that you're going to do that unless you want it to look like it's going forward. But if we go above 1, it's actually going to work the other way around. So our inside lines are going to be thinner and our outside lines are going to be fatter. So let's go up to 3. So you can really see the difference that that makes. So you are now creating this kind of spiral that's spiraling down, and that's ideal for if you want to go for a particular effect. So it might be that you want to do something that's going into a black hole. It might be that you've got a bit of an Alice in Wonderland thing going on. But the choice is yours. Now, to keep it nice and simple for today, I'm going to just keep it at 1. Okay. So at the moment it recognises that this is a spiral, but what you can actually do is then convert it to a curve and go from there. But I'm just going to go to File, and I'm going to do a Save As, and I'm just going to go on my desktop. And let's start a new folder. Actually, no, just stick it on the desktop loose for now. And I'm just going to call it Spiral, because that's all it is. Now down here, you'll see it says Inkscape SVG. Now our machines can read SVG, so it's really tempting to go, that's the one I want, and off we go. No, what we actually want to do is actually change it to a plain SVG. Okay. The other option that you have is to export it as an SVG 1.1, which can also help you if you're finding that you're having difficulties with a particular file. And we're just going to save that. Okay. So, morning Hilda, morning Diane. So, with that now saved, we can move to Canvas. Now the reason I'm moving to Canvas rather than trying to do my text in Inkscape is if you are using a single line font, you are going to want to do your text in Canvas and wrap it around your shape. So fingers crossed this works first time. I'm going to go to SVG. I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to find my spiral, and I'm going to add that to my mat. So we should now have something that looks like this. If we go into layers, we want to make sure it says shape there and not image. So if ever you import something and it says image there rather than shape, what that means is you've imported the image that's made up of dots rather than the shape that's made up of lines. And the machine needs lines to be able to work. Okay. Now at this point we can scale it. So I'm going to take this a little bit bigger because I'm going to put this in a frame. And I'm going to move it more in towards the centre. So far so good. Now if you do this next step and you find that it doesn't fit, then you can go back and redo your spiral. So if at any point you think, oh, it's not working for me, you can go back to Inkscape and just change some of those settings to make that spiral a bit longer to work for your saying. Any questions so far? And morning Samantha. So I have my don't want that on that. Let's get that a bit bigger, shall we? There we go. So I have my sentiment in text edit. So it's not about having fancy text. It is just about having the core content. So although I've got that in 2 different sizes, by the time we get to deal with it, it's not going to be like that. Now we need to do a little bit of prep before we try and wrap it around our spiral. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out all these little returns and make sure that you put spaces in if you need to. So we want it as one long piece of text. Now it's your choice whether you keep your title as part of that one line, or whether you want to pop it underneath as a sort of header for this spiral of text. So I think for mine, I'm going to keep my titles separate, but you don't have to do that. If you want to include it and just put some little bullet points between each one, you can do. So I'm going to select that now, so that it's highlighted blue, so just click and drag over the top, and then we're going to copy it. So Command C on a Mac, or Control C if you're using Notepad on a PC. So now I can go back to Canvas, and it may throw a wobbly with the length of this text, but we'll see how it goes. And I'm just going to paste that in, so you can see it's all there. I'm going to hit enter. So now we have this huge line of text that is going off and off and off the page, and at this point you might panic and think, oh, I've done something wrong. Nope, just keep going through the actions. So let's go for script, shall we? I don't mind going for a bit of a scroll this morning. Okay. So we have our single line text that we can then wrap around. Now obviously at the moment this would be a little bit big, so we can actually just start to size that slightly, and it will seem like it takes a lot to get it down because it is such a long phrase. But you want to bring it down so that text fits between your lines. Otherwise it's going to end up looking like a tangled mess, and we don't want that. And if you want to check, you can just bring it down so between 2 lines here. See the bottom of a letter on the line, and then you can check to see whether it's got enough space. Now bear in mind that in this shape, because you're wrapping your text, you're also going to have the possibility of ascenders, which are things like your L's, your H's, your D's, and your descenders, your P's, your J's, your Y's, actually clashing with each other. So if we were to take it a little bit smaller, it's going to try and avoid that just a little bit more. Now, and we can check it again. So I'm a bit happy with that. So now we have our text selected, and we're going to select our path, and you can see that we have fit path just here. When we do that, it's going to think about it, and then whee, off it goes. Now you can see that straight away it's gone, okay, it's a little bit off the end. I can handle that, that's fine. Morning Linda, and don't worry about being late. And yes, Tracy, it is my awesome font. You also have the option here of clicking and dragging the little cross, which is going to move your text around. Now bear in mind this is quite processor intensive, so if you're doing something like I'm doing here, I'm also streaming from the same computer, it is going to be a little bit slow. Okay. You can also change how it aligns to that line as well. So you can have it so it goes to the middle. Wait for you to think about it. So you can see that our base spiral is now going through the middle of the line. And we can have it to the top, which means that the spiral is then going to go around the top of our ascenders. So that's quite an important one to notice. It's not going to the top of things like your E's, your N's, your A's. It's going to the top of your H's, your L's. And which one you choose will vary depending on your text. So which font you choose, which, how much space you have left. So if you find that it's a little bit short, for the number of spirals that you have, you can use your alignment to almost pad it out in that sense. So I'm going to go back to bottom. We have path direction, so you can decide whether you want it to start from the inside out, which it is currently, and we can also go the other way round. Now mine's going to go a bit mad because it's like, now what do you want me to do? So we'll go the other way around. Actually, let's see if I can do something. Let's take it out so it's a bit loopy. Let's see if I can actually move that now. So I'm going to take that and we're going to drag this all the way around our spiral, like we're feeding it on. Come on. There we go. Getting there. So we can see with this way round, we've got a little bit of an issue there, and that's just where we just need to make that line a little bit longer. So it's whether you want to go back and adjust that spiral. So like I said, you can go back to Inkscape and adjust that spiral and bring it back in. Or if you just want to do it nice and easy, we'll go start to end, and it can go from that inside out. There we go. Like so. Now, with that done, number one, we're going to want to set that to draw rather than cut. Otherwise, we're going to end up with something that looks rather lacy. So we'll just click on it and we can set it to draw. And our shape that's applied our text to is just going to stay as a shape until such point as we actually convert it to shape, which kind of sets it in stone. So if you think that you might want to change something, you might not necessarily want to do that just yet. Because at this point, all this text is still editable. It's a bit of a nightmare because it's all one long line. So it's one of those things where it's easier to do the editing first before you copy and paste it in. But in absolute emergency, you can do. So then we can go back to our text edit and let's pick up our title. We'll go back to Canvas. We can use our text tool. Just click somewhere on the map, paste it in, hit enter. And again, we can resize that. Drop it down. Now if we select both of them, we can use our line to actually line the two up. And then we also want to group it as well. So go group and set our text to draw that we've just put in as well. So by setting it to draw, it means that we can use our foiling kit with it. It means we can use the foil quill with it. We could use paint pens, fine liners, gel pens. The choice is yours really. But it just means that instead of having to print something out, you can have it draw. And then you can do the QR code for the middle if you want to. If you want to do a Spotify one, you could replace that with your Spotify link. And there is a video on doing a Spotify link if that is something you are interested in doing. So you can find that either on our Facebook or on our YouTube. That was a very quick one this morning, wasn't it? Hi Andrea. Yep, it would make an awesome t-shirt. So if you wanted to make it a t-shirt rather than using a single line font, you would use something that's a bit bolder. So let's click on my text. And you want something that's going to look nice and bold actually in your text panel here. So your antique Oakland is actually quite a good example because it's very simple and clean. And then you can resize that again. So each time we change the text, you're going to find that it changes scale. And obviously that has a bit of more of an implication when it comes to our spiral. So this is something that you would generally want to do before you do that fit to path. But let's see if we can go for something different. So I'm going to go alternate Gothic. And it's going to take a little bit of time to think about it. There you go. And that's actually not bad. I actually quite like that. And you can see because we've gone for that condensed font, that suddenly what was extending over here is suddenly pinged right up here. So if you want to then go, okay, well in which case I can move this around, you can still do that. I'm just doing it little by little just so I can don't go off the end basically. A bit more. A bit more. There you go. So then that's given us that nice open section in the middle for a photo. Now let's say you want to do that on a wall. And what you would do is if you go to Artboard, and as long as you have the vinyl blade, you have the option to go to a custom size for tiling. At which point we can click that, and we can then make this group much bigger so that we can actually start to edit that as a whole. But that's just a suggestion and it's entirely up to you what you want to do with it. So I'm going to go back to my 12 by 12 because I want to create a frame. But it is just as easy to create it for a t-shirt. And you could even do really fun things like shower curtains, wall hangings. If you want to do a canvas, you could do it that way too. So don't be afraid to experiment with your materials. If you want to create this as a stencil, however, you want to go for a stencil font. So that's not to say that it's impossible to do. It's just that you have to change your mindset a little. So if I take that back in there, and let's see if I can find a stencil font. Let's go for that one. So you see with this one you're going to need much more of a spiral. Okay, otherwise it's just going to drop off the end. But the reason I say go for a stencil font is it's got the little joins in it. But you definitely want to go for more of a spiral rather than try and shrink that text, because the more you shrink it, the narrower those little joins between the two are becoming, which then means that your stencil becomes a lot more fragile. So particularly if you're using things like blending brushes for your stencils, then you are going to want to have something that has a bit more rigidity to it. But hopefully that's given you a few different ideas. I'm going to go back to my scripty. I'm also going to go back to scripty on that one too, just so it's nice and consistent. So with that grouped, I'm just going to ungroup that, just so I can do that alignment process again. So if it's grouped, you can't really do that align, so just ungroup it, align and regroup. Hi Susan, hope you're okay. So hopefully that's given you a few different ideas, and I will just try and quickly hop on YouTube as well, see if I can see if there are any comments on there. Bear with me. And hi Tracy Christina on YouTube. So if you have any questions, now's the time to ask, because I'm just on YouTube checking for comments there. And hopefully that's given you all some ideas about new projects. So what I'm going to be focusing on over the coming weeks are lots of gift ideas. So I know Ian wants to do a video for you as well, but it might be that that's a pre-record one, so that we can pop that up, and I'll do that as a premiere so we can still all chat along. Okay, doesn't look like there's going to be any comments on YouTube, so I will quickly flick back to Facebook. Hi Louise. Okay, so with that all done, I'm going to call that a day at that. So you just want to be able to save what you're doing. So I'm just going to go to Save As. And start a new folder, call it Spiral Frame. And call that one Spiral Frame 2. Without the real characters, we're good. Now that saves as a workshop file, workspace file I should say, but to send it to your machine you need to export it. Now it's going to save tiny objects removed when converting to STM, because it's too small to cut. Just go OK whatever, because it doesn't apply. And we're going to export the STM. I'm just going to give it the same name and go save. So I hope you've enjoyed that, And if you have any special requests that you would like me to do drop me a line. I'm also going to be doing a couple of spooky videos this week, just as we start to head up to Halloween. So I didn't want to go too OTT on Halloween because we've got lots of blog posts that are going to be coming up, so keep an eye out for those, both on Creative Fabrica and on the Graph Tech blog. So I will be sharing those as we can. And you're welcome, Linda. So take care, and I will see you tomorrow at 11 when we will be doing something a little different. So tomorrow you will need some sprays, or at least sprayed card. So you're going to be wanting to go for spooky colours. We're going to go for a background design, so that could be a die if you have one that's kind of background, so something like leafy twigs or something spooky. It could be cobwebs, or if you don't, you can use your scan and cut, and then we'll go from there. So have fun, and if you have any questions this afternoon, I will be around to answer them. And don't forget to also catch up on our store. So what I think of it. Ta-da! On the store we have some goodie bags. We've also started doing international postage for the foil shield, and also we still have some of our limited edition pen holders that Carl at 3D Fun Prints made for us. So if you would like a set, you can find the link on there to purchase. Take care for now. Have a great afternoon and see you tomorrow. Bye.